making a protest vote in the elections is the same as turning up to spend the night in a Holiday Inn, deciding that you don't like your room, and shitting the bed as a protest, and then realising that you're going to have to sleep all night in a shitted bed. In July 2016, slightly more than half of the population, after being whipped up to a frenzy by a campaign of ridiculous disinformation, voted to leave the European Union. I am not so sure that the disaffected working classes are entirely to blame for this. Yes, I know a lot of them, they were. They did vote for leave. And yet the narrative seems to be, oh, well, it's these working people who have voted for this. And yes, and you can say that, well, it's because they've been ignored for so long. And yes, they have been ignored for so long. But then a lot of people have been ignored for a long period. I tended to find that there were certainly as many middle-class voters who voted for leave. And I think that most of them, it was a protest vote. I know an awful lot of people who were suffering from buyer's remorse the morning after. I was heartened by the story of a businessman who'd given, I think, £1 million to the Leave campaign. And of course, on the morning of the 24th, the pound had crashed disastrously against the dollar, and he had had something like 49 million wiped off of the value of his company. During the Brexit campaign and immediately afterwards, I found out that a couple of very dear and very trusted friends of mine had voted to leave. This wouldn't have been due to the apparent borderline racism that I think also played a massive part in the Leave vote. These people were firm and convinced socialists during the 1960s. But the world that we're living in now is much, much more complicated than the world that we lived in the 60s. In fact, I think that mounting complexity is probably the root of nearly all of our problems. Technology accelerates everything.